What's up, everybody? You are listening to Switchflicks, the podcast where we love and hate movies at the same time. I'm your host, Omar, and I'm with my pawn sacrifice, Haysam.
You know, the last few women I dated were all chess prodigies.
Were they?
Yeah, because every time we went on a date, 5 minutes in, they'd go like, I'm leaving, you get the checkmate.
The rules of the podcast are simple. Haysam and I review something. One of us will have to love it. One of us will have to hate it. Who does what will be determined by the flip of a coin.
The coin of fate?
The coin of fate.
The coin of fight.
Mate. The catch is that at any point in our debate, we can use the switch to change positions. So if you loved it, you now hate it. And if you hated it, you now love it. Spoilers, as always. Today, we are reviewing the Queen's Gambit. Let us begin with our patented one-breath synopsis. The Queen's Gambit is a 2020 American coming-of-age period drama miniseries based on Walter Tevis's 1983 novel of the same name. Beginning in the mid-1950s and proceeding into the 1960s, the story follows the life of an orphan chess prodigy on her rise to the top of the chess world while struggling with drug and alcohol dependency. The Queen's Gambit is the chess opening that starts with the moves 1 d4 to d5 and 2 c4. It is one of the oldest openings and is still commonly played today. It is traditionally described as a gambit because white appears to sacrifice the c-pawn. However, this could be considered a misnomer as black cannot retain the pawn without incurring a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that
Give it a little
lesson in what the Queen's Gambit actually is.
Yeah.
I had no idea, and I still don't know.
I'm now about to flip the coin of fate. If it lands on heads, you have to love the Queen's Gambit. If it lands on tails, you move to c4.
Of course.
And then you have to hate it.
Got it.
Tails.
Okay, so I hate it, and you love it.
I loved the Queen's Gambit, Netflix's foray into prestige TV. It is both a underdog story and an incredible period show. The costumes, the details, the acting, everything about this about the show was perfect.
The problem with this, all right, with this show, all right, is that it's overhyped. All right. It is actually, it came at a time when there was no other content to watch, none whatsoever. And so people ate it up. I can't blame them. I mean, I watched it, you know, because there was nothing else to watch. Right. This script, this story was 30 years in the making. Mm-hmm. The script itself was dormant for 30 years. The producer was trying to make it and shopped it around for 30 years because it was a crap script with a boring premise about chess.
Chess is an intellectual sport, okay? It's not like the sports you watch. What is it? Curling? You're Canadian, right?
I am Canadian,
so it's not like curling. This is
Curling's exciting. What's wrong with curling?
Sure, take a broom or whatever, okay? This chess
it's a game of precision.
Chess is a game of precision, and this show is all about precision. It is about that immaculate period setting. It is about those immaculate costumes. It is about making chess, like you said, interesting to watch. I was riveted the whole time trying to figure out what's going on, what's going to happen next. You know me, right? I'm not the kind of person who watches Pawn, okay? I don't watch pawns, okay?
Pawns?
Yeah, Pawn, like a pawn. I don't watch Pawn, but after watching this movie, I was hardcore porn watching. I was Googling it. Pawns, like pawn.
Pawn.
I think we're talking about the same thing.
Are we talking about the same thing?
Yeah, okay. I was Googling porn all day, trying to figure out the different moves, the different positions that are available in porn. And that's what this show has done. It has made little girls and little boys interested in pawns one more time.
Yes.
And I think that is the power of this show.
So, then it's no coincidence that the little girl version of the protagonist in this film, okay, actually was in this strange location where every day she would skip class to go into the basement to play chess with some creepy old guy, and no one asked where she was.
Switch.
And no one needed to ask where she was. Because the fact is that she was getting an education into the age-old game of shatranj, which everyone knows is such an intellectual, experience for any child. Now, the Queen's Gambit, proved that you can take something that you wouldn't expect to be dramatic and make it incredibly riveting and incredibly interesting if you have a good script, if you have a good plot, if you have good actors, and if you have the skill level of the makers of this series.
I think here is a show that is interesting anytime they're showing a chess match. It's slightly interesting, and everything else is window dressing. It is not interesting. It is boring, and it is cliched.
You are absolutely mistaken. We're talking about a journey through time. So we started off in the 50s, right? And it went through to, I think, the 70s or the 80s or whatever it was. And we saw how the political environment changed. We saw how...
But with no depth.
With absolute tons of depth.
No
What
depth.
are you talking about?
I think
you had this child. This is a story of an orphaned girl who from the beginning was... traumatized by her family, traumatized by her mom.
You don't see any of that.
Of course you see that.
No.
You see, yes,
She has a great relationship with her alcoholic mom. That's what the show is.
And then her mom tries to kill herself and the child, but, the child survives and then ends up going to an orphanage.
That mom. I don't even remember about that mom.
Well, that's because, don't you remember they both had a fringe?
Yes.
That way you knew that was her real mom.
Here's the problem with the movie, with the show, right? The show talks about alcoholism and, her dependency on drugs.
Absolutely.
But these things are never really a problem for her.
Well, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know because she's a child prodigy and you're not. Okay? She was an intellectual who couldn't handle the amount of knowledge and awareness that she had. You wouldn't know anything about that.
But the problem is like it's supposed to be about her alcoholism, but it doesn't really affect her. If anything, the drugs that she takes is helping her on her journey.
And that's the lesson.
So how is this? How is this show? How is this about her struggles? It's not, right? She never has to struggle. She does not lose a match for
she loses many matches.
Up until like the 5th episode, she's not losing. She's just winning and winning. She's doing drugs. She's getting drunk, right? If you're watching a rags to riches show, you need to see them struggle to get there.
This girl, you are a sadistic bastard if you think that this woman should struggle any more than she has already.
The show doesn't show any of the consequences of all these things happening. They are just a list of a tick list of things that happen. They're like, oh, let's make her alcoholic.
You
let's
saw
show
the
her
consequences.
That she drugs.
You saw that her makeup became very dark and depressing. She became very gothic looking.
Yes.
Okay. She was smoking a
There
lot of
is
cigarettes
one
and
consequence.
shaking, okay.
Her drugs and alcohol cause one thing. One, it causes her to be better at chess, and two, she oversleeps that one time she's in Russia. That is the only time that her drugs and her alcohol cause any problem.
But here's my question to you, okay? You moralistic bastard, okay?
Yes.
You think that there's a problem with drugs and alcohol? Why should there be a problem with drugs and alcohol? Who are you to judge people who rely on any kind of substances to improve their behavior? Listen, you are a figment of the past, my friend, okay? Get with the program, okay? There are mind-altering substances in the world that you have the right to use.
You need to be on them to enjoy this show, right? Let's talk about the performance. Let's talk about Anya Taylor-Joy. We should change her name to Anya Taylor Angst because she only plays one kind of character. Her character is always angst.
Look, she doesn't have a Russian accent in this film, okay? So she's clearly playing a different character than she has in other films, right?
Right. She played the same character in Witch. She played the same character in New Mutants with a different accent. She plays the same character in this. It is one note. It is boring. I'm tired of seeing her with this kind of...
No. She plays a very different character. She's got a lot of range, okay? And she has an intellectual edge that she is constantly presenting. She has a kind of a deep contemplative tone that she constantly has. She is scarred.
Switch.
She is depressing. She is just really not a joy to watch at all, right? She basically
she carries this whole thing.
No,
what's amazing about this show is that you don't really see any of the chessboard during the chess matches. You just see their expressions of the players, and that's what carries it. You're so excited the whole time to see what's happening next, what's going to happen with this show, what's going to happen next in the tournament. It is such a great sports film.
A sports film.
Yes.
Chess is not a sport. It's an activity, okay?
It's also not a film, but it's a show. But
it's a show, and it's not a film. That's absolutely true. Thank you for saying that. Look, the fact of the matter is that this is a subpar, okay, bottom of the drawer script that was brought to life because there was nothing else to shoot at the time. And it was just like, you know, you had these choices that were made. You're talking about all these exceptional, you know, filmic skills that were put to play. You know, look at something as simple as trying to show how this girl has been growing up. All right. She starts off, her mom has this ugly fringe, and she has a fringe. And then time passes, and the way that they show that it's the same girl is just by having this ridiculous haircut that is incredibly distracting. Okay, kind of like yours. Yeah. And then she grows up again and she still has the stupid fringe. And it's like, what's with the fringe, man?
I think the hairstyling in this show is so amazing. Not just the fringe, all the different hairstyles, all the different costumes, the period detail. That's what I'm here to watch. The way it brings look, 50s and 60s to life.
Fine. Okay, so you know what? You know, they went into a warehouse in Hollywood.
Yes.
Okay, where they've got all these, these costumes already, there, okay? Fine, they sewed a few costumes for her. That's not enough. That's like gilding, what is it like? A poop, you know, gilding the poop. That's the well-known, saying. You gild a poop. It's still a poop. That's when you put the gold on the poop and it's still a poop, okay?
I've never...
It is just low-hanging fruit, okay? You're talking about something that wasn't exciting to begin with. And then, they wrapped it up with, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, a little bit of international Cold War.
And the story of
bullshit.
An underdog, being at the top of her game. Here is a woman who people thought women can't play chess, women can't be,
It's not a real person. You're talking about...
It might as well be. It feels like it's a true story because of all the depth and character that they put into, and all the tender love that they put into this pawn.
And look, and you were talking... You're talking about the story like it's Stone Soup. Okay, this movie is Stone Soup.
That's not a real thing.
It is a real thing. Have you never heard of Stone Soup? Stone Soup is a parable. It's not even a parable. It's like it's a kid's story. Okay, where you have this guy who visits a house and he says he's hungry, but that he knows how to make the best soup possible with a stone. Okay, so stone in this case is chess.
Yes.
All right. He takes the stone, he puts it into a pot of boiling water. And he tells the mother or the wife of the house, she's like, look, all I need to make this happen with this wonderful stone is some vegetables. So she brings them vegetables. And some chicken. So she brings them chicken. And some broth. And she brings them broth. And some peas. And some this. And some that. And then at the end, he made this wonderful soup that tasted like everything but the stone.
Yes.
And it's the same thing with this film. The chess that this movie purported to be about was the least important and interesting thing in the entire film.
I'm just glad I don't have to watch a mini series about that story that you just came up with. That's just so not interesting.
It's a real story.
Story about soup.
It's a real story.
Okay.
And it perfectly describes my problem with this show, is that it's not about chess. I wanted it to be about chess. I wanted to read about chess. And that's what I got. So much chess. Chess everywhere. Chess on the ceiling. Chess on the floor. Chess in her memories. Chess in her, with the old guy in the. And what about
We don't even get to see the chess. Right? We're just looking at their faces. Like, I want to see the different ploys. I want to see the different gambits. And we get to see nothing. We just get to hear people say, oh, look, she's doing a good move now. Oh, look, this is a bad move.
I get it, because you don't have an imagination, right? So you can't tell that the chess is actually in their minds.
It's like, you know what this movie is like? It's like if I watched Rocky and the whole time they just showed Stallone's face and none of the boxing, right? They're like, we're not going to show any of the punches. We're just going to see Stallone's broken face. That's what this is. We're just watching the characters' faces. We're not seeing any of the actual chess. If the show is about chess, show me the chess.
There was a lot of chess, okay? There was chess in the way that the characters were interacting with each other. There was chess in the way that the political movements in the Cold War era were coming together. There was chess on the board, yes, and then there was chess on the ceiling, like we said before. This film's DNA is chess.
This movie is a movie like, it's basically a cliched movie like Walk the Line. It's one of those musical biopics. It's a musical biopic where they've just replaced the music with chess. right? It is this idea that there's somebody who's a genius at music. They get famous. Then the drugs and alcohol and sex come in and it puts them on the wrong path. And then they have to find retribution and then they win. That's what this is. They've just replaced the music with chess.
And you know, I'm just going to completely ignore that, that analogy because I don't see the connection between.
But you see it as stone soup. Stone soup, you understand.
Stone soup,
This
yes.
very specific thing I just said, it
Stone
makes sense,
soup
makes
makes
perfect
complete sense. But
Okay.
Walk the Line, no. You know, and besides that, it's very timely because it
Yeah.
is an empowering film
Yes.
that shows that, you know, this idea that chess is a man's game is completely wrong. It's completely false. You know,
I wanted to see the pawn. I wanted to see the queen in the pawn. I wanted to see the elephant and the pawn. I wanted to see all kinds of hardcore pawn action.
Right.
You know, I wanted to see the pawn on black. I wanted to see the pawn on white. I got to see none of this.
You're getting carried away. You're getting carried away with all this talk about the pawn. All right. What we're trying to focus
I
on
love
here
pawn.
is the queen. Okay.
Yes.
The queen. And at the end, she did become the queen. This is the amazing thing about this film, is the way that her transformation went from her being a pawn to her becoming a queen.
Are we talking about porn here? Or?
No, we're not. We're talking about the script.
Then I'm not interested.
Right. So I guess we've reached the natural conclusion of this debate. Tell me, Haysam, what did you really think about the Queen's Gambit?
I thought it was good. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's amazing. I think the show is at its best when it's about the chess. I thought everything about the chess was just, I was at the edge of my seat, just wanting to know what happens next. And I think everything else around it was well made, was very well made. I think that's the show, right? It's a really well made show, but I wasn't as interested in everything else.
I loved it. I thought it was one of the literally the best shows that I've ever watched. It was so good. I was immersed. Now, maybe that's perceptual. Maybe it's because, you know, like we said, not a lot of content has come out that's been really fantastic this year.
Yeah.
And so when I saw something that was really riveting, I kind of just was all in. But I absolutely loved the show. I love the way that it was made, you know, in terms of its look and feel, the way it was shot, the acting, the costumes, you know, the way that it's all kind of related to the you know, to chess, you know,
Yes.
the way that it's actually designed to be related to chess, you know. I love the fact that it was a limited series, that you got to explore this character over this course of this timeline, you know, with just enough depth that, you know, it has a beginning, middle, and end, you know, but it's a lot more satisfying to watch than a couple of hours
Yes.
of a feature, you know. And Anna Taylor-Joy was fantastic.
She's
you know,
great.
she's really like got to shine in this film, right? And I really love this series. I absolutely really. enjoyed
I
it.
think you definitely liked it more than I did. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite things. I think it's a movie, it's a show. Sorry, I keep calling it a movie, but it's a show that just kind of so well put together that it's kind of
But that
hard
means
to
that-
complain about, right?
But that means a lot to me, you know,
Yeah.
because I know how hard it is to do, you know, to make anything at that level. You know, it's
Yes.
ridiculous. Like the level of expertise in its
Yes.
execution is just stunning. It's phenomenal.
And I think, you know, like I said, when it comes to all her kind of personal demons that she's fighting, I just wasn't that interested in the way that I was kind of like, I've kind of seen this in like a different context, but like a musical biopic contest, like I put together. I've seen this in a musical biopic context.
Yeah.
It's not doing anything new or different or interesting with it. So,
But it is mixing, but there's no, that doesn't mean that it isn't relevant or interesting. Like, you know, the fact that it was done before in the musical biopic context or other contexts where someone is just a total mess, but really they're brilliant, you know?
Yeah.
You know, that is a reality. Like this is humanity, you know, people can be brilliant and incredible and also deeply flawed. There is one thing about it which I agree with you on, which is that there was no consequence to her for, you know, making really bad decisions, you know, like, yes. Okay. No, on a personal level, I don't think that we should be moralistic and think that just because she's taking, you know, a drug or drinking that she should be punished. But there is something to say about her, you know, using essentially, it could be argued, what could be seen for her at least as a performance enhancing drug. Now, it isn't. because what it is I think it was some sort of opiate. So it shouldn't be, technically. Maybe because...
But the show tells that it does, right? Where she can see
it does, but maybe that's because she's, at the same time, like if you've got ADD and you take Ritalin to calm you down, is that a performance-enhancing drug? No, it's not. It's a medicine.
Yeah, but she doesn't have ADD.
But she has something. She's certainly not normal,
I guess.
And so the medication affects her in a different way than it affects other people.
I think the problem is that the show constantly tells us it's a problem, but it's not a problem. I think that's what the problem is, right? The show is kind of like, oh, she's doing drugs and she's an alcoholic and it's a problem. But then if there's no consequences, then narratively it's not as interesting. And also, you keep telling me it's a problem, but everything's so hunky-dory and so great for her mom's an alcoholic or whatever, right? It's just kind of like everything works out.
But then you could also say that she had suffered enough, she did have a very difficult life. It's not like she just, started off, born with a silver spoon. She had to rise up out of a hellhole, essentially, in order to achieve what she did. And she had to face the challenges of also being a woman in a man's world, and also of, a family abandoning her, at multiple levels. She had to face a lot of problems. I agree with you that she didn't suffer severe consequences, but then again, I mean, part of me was kind of glad that she didn't, because I've already seen that so many times.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You've seen it all.
I've already seen that, so I was like, okay, good. I'm glad that she didn't have to fucking get trashed and then rise up out of that hole,
Agreed. I think that towards the end of the show, when all that stuff was happening, I actually forwarded a bit and I was like, let's just get to the chess. Because I was really interested in the chess, and I loved all of that. And I was like, I understand what's going to happen here. It's okay.
I actually do wish that there was, even though I did enjoy all of that, and I'm surprised that you fast forwarded to it, because I really loved those parts. But I do think that there should have been more focus on the chess.
Yes.
I think I did really enjoy that, and I was curious to see how they would dramatize the actual game.
They didn't
really dramatize the
amazing
games.
job of how they do it.
They dramatized the way that she figured out what to do. They dramatized their reactions, but the actual strategy of what was happening on the board, they didn't do anything about. They didn't dramatize that.
And that's what's amazing about it. I think it worked that they didn't show what the thing, you would imagine that it doesn't work.
It was clearly a very strong choice for them not to dramatize the games themselves. That was clearly something that they decided not to do. But I kind of wish that at least they had a little bit,
maybe
a little bit more. I would have kind of been curious and interested to see that, but that would be my complaint. But really, I just thought that this was so excellently executed, and I had such a good experience watching it that it was really up there. It's one of my favorite shows. One of the best shows. Again, definitely one of the best shows, if not the best show that I'd seen this year. Or, probably the best show that came out this year. Definitely, no, I wouldn't say it's the best show that I've seen of all time. No, but it's up there. It's definitely up there, top 10.
To me, it kind of feels like the best thing I would describe it to is like a Oscar film, right? Something like The King's Speech, right? Where here's a high quality, good movie that you can watch, but in no way was it anything more than that, right? I think it's got great acting, everything's great. But it's not, I didn't feel like it was special. So it's not one of my favorite shows I've watched. I watched a show called Gangs of London, right?
I haven't seen that.
It's an excellent show, except for the end is kind of terrible, right? The last couple of episodes. But because that show is so kind of different and so excellent, where it is, I prefer that show over this, even though I can say that the general quality of Queens Gambit is better, if that makes any sense. It's just, I do feel like it's like I walked the line again, right? But with chess.
Right.
And so, I thought it was great, and I thought it was like The King's Speech, but, that year Social Network came out, right? And I much prefer The Social Network. I think that's
yeah, but they're very different.
Yes,
they're extremely different. The Social Network and The King's Speech are very different. I see how you're connecting The King's Speech
or
to
the
this.
Green Book that won an Oscar a couple of years ago. I don't know if you watched that.
This is definitely going to win a bunch of awards. There's no question.
Where it's all kind of well made and well put together, and it's got all the ingredients that is needed. And sometimes that's enough.
Yeah, but I think again, I think that it was for me so rich. It was so full of detail. It was so extremely well executed and so satisfying to watch because of that. The story I thought was extremely intriguing. I loved watching Anna Taylor-Joy. She carried the whole show for sure. All those elements are all like 9, 9, 9, 9, 9. Like none of it is 10. But there's so many nines that the whole thing feels like an incredible achievement. Like it was really beautifully done, beautifully executed, and beautiful storytelling. So I thought it was just fantastic.
Okay. What would you rate it?
9.
I would give it a 7.
You bastard! Give it a 7?
Yeah, I give it a 7. Like the porn that I watched after, I gave that a 7 too.
Thank you for listening to Switchflicks. If you loved or hated the show, please do rate, subscribe, and leave some comments, and we will see you soon.